I'm ready.
When am I going to stop you?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
When are you gonna start the timer?
When we start the speech.
All right.
How about you go like this and I'll go like this?
All right.
All right, everyone. Miguel is ready for your applause. I told Miguel that he is going to do his best to stick within the 6 to 8 minutes, but I told him that we will be stopping him at 10 minutes. All right? Oh, see, they want more, Miguel. They want more. All right, Miguel, whenever you are ready.
So.
Are you going to start it?
Oh, I already started it.
Okay.
I restarted it. So, I've always been interested in how human behavior works and why exactly we behave. This all began when I first read this one book by this author called Robert Sapolsky. It's that wizard guy that I showed you guys before in my dopamine speech. Y'all remember? I don't have a picture of him, unfortunately, but I'm sure y'all still remember him. So I read his book, and he also posted Stanford lectures on YouTube for free, which is pretty nice because it's a free college course from a very well-spoken lecturer. But he posits this very interesting idea. Our behavior is determined. It doesn't emerge through free will. So now I ask you all this question. Well, three of them actually. The first question is, what does it mean to will one's own behavior? And the second question is, why do you think you behave the way you do? And then the third question is, do you believe in nature versus nurture? And what's your answer, nature or nurture? So I invite you all to choose whatever question you like if you have an answer. Nurture, why? So it's all about the parental influence. Anyone else? Swazo. Oh, that's true, yeah. Genetic predispositions. Anyone else? Derek? So you think it's both nature and nurture? Part in both? Last one. No one else? Oh, Max? Both? All right. So now I want to move on to what free will actually means. What I will say is free will is all about how our behavior emerges spontaneously because we will it to. So what does free will actually look like? I'm pretty sure we all have a pretty good idea on what free will means. I mean, you could be aware of whatever behavior emerges within you, whatever thoughts that you think of. However, free will begins to dysfunction once this very cool idea comes up, determinism, as I said before. Where does the will in free will come from? So after asking that question, that's the question that led to the discovery of the idea of determinism on how past factors led to your behavior now. So I would like to talk about what determinism actually means now. So determinism, it is a branch of metaphysics. What is metaphysics? It is the branch of philosophy that studies the fundamental nature of reality, existence, and being. So it's studying the nature of nature, pretty much. So we see here that determinism is a branch of metaphysics because they are both involved in understanding just the nature of nature. That's all I could say. So on to the second point. What does determinism actually look like now? What do we see in its application? So I want you all to look at this very cool red shiny line. Let's pretend this is you. And then you behave a certain way. I don't know, think of a behavior, anything. Rage. Okay. Very interesting. Rage. Okay. Now, what's the timeline? Do you want to make it 10 years, 50 years, a billion years? A billion years. Okay. This whole red line right here is meant to represent 1 billion years. Why is it green? Oh, I don't know what's happening. Oh, I think it's because this. Nah, whatever. All right, 1 billion years. What do we think happened way back here for this behavior of rage to occur? I don't know, Big Bang, some planet collided with Earth, whatever. Let's say the Big Bang, which happened way before that actually, but oh my God. All right, Big Bang, and then what do we think happened here? Dinosaurs emerged somehow in some way through some single-celled organism. Dinos. And then I'm gonna try my best drawing of a dinosaur. There we go. All right. Now we're on to the present age. The monkeys emerged, the apes and stuff. And then finally humans emerge. And this dude's ancestors, their great gazillion great grandparents, and the genetics, they all passed down onto this guy that led to genetic predispositions of rage and all that. We all have rage in some form, but let's say this person is very prone to high amounts of rage for some reason. But there's genetic predispositions, there's high cortisol levels, there's high stress hormone levels. Those stress hormones may interact with neurons in an amazing way that might lead to an overreaction to a certain stimuli. So what this all means is, was that person in control of all of this stuff that happened in the past? So what does that say about free will? I ask you all that question now. We're all confused, right? It's very interesting because all of this stuff occurred, all of this stuff had to happen in the past for this behavior of rage to occur. It wasn't because he wanted to be mad, if people even want to be mad in the first place. He wasn't in control of his rage, not because he lacks inhibition or he doesn't have the ability to control himself, but rather think of it as, oh, because of this leading to this, leading to this, leading to this, leading to his genetic predispositions and then leading to him developing his brain or whatever, it led to the underlying structure of his being that led to rage. And that's all I have. Thank you. Hello.
Miguel, I want you now, since we're on free will, I want you to free talk.
Hi.
So I also think that it's very different when you're asking, and I know you love the class participation, and I love that about you. But I think when you have an idea, like we always say, when you have a very abstract idea, we need to use comparisons, contrasts, and personalized information. Now you drove home the personalized information because you were taking information from the crowd, bringing up information of why this is like ethically important to you, and everyone in this room believes that you find things about metaphysical behaviors, free will important because it is something that you talk about all the time. But let's talk about when you take like, if let's say I said
Happy.
how would that have changed your life? Would we still have been back to the Big Bang and the dinosaurs? Would we have been there, and then that was what determined that made the person happy? So we're missing like a whole understanding about you define determinism and metaphysics, but how is that applicable? How is it applicable to the emotion that you were saying? So I don't really understand how all that happened previous led to why we behaved a certain way. What is the information? That's what we're missing. That information in
the the application or the information?
Turn around and look at your board.
Yes.
I think you may know. I think we just don't know. So when you were projecting all these things that happened in the past, why are you saying that those are determinants of rage? Where did that research come from? That everything prior was leading to that person's constitution of rage.
What I will say is, I don't want to isolate this idea to just rage, because isolating it to just one thing, it makes it easy to understand. But determinism, it's applicable to literally everything in the present, not just behavior, literally everything.
Everything, like the pen.
Exactly. No. Yes. But.
So explain that to me.
The reason why it would be the pen or the behavior is because we're isolating it to just those two things. But we're only doing that because it's easier to understand the idea of determinism. It's not just those two things, but this and that and literally everything that happens.
What causes determinism? That's what I think we don't understand.
Ooh, what causes determinism?
So when you were reading in that text and you were reading about determinism, like what I'm thinking is like I think of like an amazing writer and poet, Thoreau. And Thoreau wrote transcendental poetry. So if I wanted to explain transcendental poetry to the audience, does anyone know what transcendental poetry is?
No, not me.
Right, so I'm going to explain it to them plainly. All right, Thoreau is an amazing poet, but not like Robert Frost, right? Robert Frost, right? Everyone knows Robert Frost from New England. Used a lot of seasonal imagery, like winter, into his. I could explain that hands down. But Thoreau, who you probably would like, Thoreau wrote transcendental poetry. And transcendentalism is man's connection to nature. That's what it means. So Thoreau wrote poetry about how man is in some way, and using the word man loosely for any gender or sex, but he would write poetry about the effects of nature on man, right? where we have other poets that write in, in very different ways, who uses athletics to fuse their poetry. But Thoreau writes about how nature truly influences an individual, how we feel. Like if we wrote a poem about going to the beach and sticking our feet into the sand and allowing our feet to just absorb the natural environment, and then maybe that brings about good feelings of family. That's what Thoreau does in a poet, uses nature
Mm-hmm.
that's what transcendentalism is, man's connection to nature. So determinism, you told us like what it is, but where does it come from and what is its purpose? That's what we need to know. So if I ask everyone tomorrow, what's transcendental poetry, they could tell me it's poetry about man's connection to nature. So I don't think we have an idea of
How is it useful? Determinism. Is it? Is it that?
what is it. Really?
Well, it's the idea that things are the way they are because of past factors that led to that thing being where it is now.
What? You're using anonymous pronouns. So
Anonymous.
yeah, you're just using like they. Tell us what. So say it again. What is determinism?
I mean, there's no other way I could describe it.
I think that makes sense, to be honest. I kind of get what Miguel is saying.
Is it like everything happens?
What do we all think?
Why do you just think everything is interconnected? Is that a good word to maybe use for determinism? Every behavior that someone has is interconnected and presumed already.
Presumed, that means predicted, right? Presumed. I also don't want to view it in a. I don't. It's not about determinism. It isn't about predicting. Although we might think that we can predict, whatever assumption that we come up with that we think is a prediction still happens in the present moment.
Okay.
So there's
Comments,
that.
questions?
Caroline.
What were you trying to convince us of again? Like actually.
So our behavior doesn't emerge through free will, it emerges through determinism.
Okay. Oh, okay. So
That's
you're trying to get us to believe that. Okay, gotcha. I'm still a little confused, but yeah, I think that's all I can say right now.
Of course. Justin.
I think you are tiptoeing around what determinism means. I feel like you're like right there. You're just struggling to find the right words. Is it kind of like everything?
It's very complex.
Yeah, it is very complex. It's like everything that has happened in the past happened, so everything can be the way it is now.
Not happened so, but everything in the past happened, and it happened to have led to now.
It's like how people say if a time traveler goes back in time and kicks a rock, comes back, everything will be different.
You could say that, yeah.
It's like the same kind of relation.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. But I think as far as the actual speech format goes, you didn't really have too bad vocal fillers. Your inflection was great. You were a really good speaker in front of an audience. I just think you lacked a counter argument and you didn't have any evidence to support your claims. It was just kind of you speaking your knowledge of the topic.
I understand.
Other than the book that you mentioned in the beginning. But otherwise, I think with a little more information and more evidence to back you up and a counter argument, it would make for a much better speech.
Kira.
And then would be saying why should we believe determinism as opposed to anything else? And then what are the arguments against it?
Mm-hmm.
being said, out of any kind of topic, absolutely, there's absolutely no doubt. But you were saying, right, why you were persuaded.
Thank you.
Just say, so like we talked about him getting like genetic predisposition, like nutrition. It would have been nice for you to like circle back to that, like here said we could deeper, but you never like went back up to that whole like sort of dig hole and you don't cover it at the beach, so someone basically falls into it. So like do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So yeah, I just want to know like why you're talking about genetic predisposition and curious to know about resources. Like it would be interesting to see where you got this information from. I know you talked about like that book that you read, which is like great, amazing, like cool. But like where else does this idea? Where do these ideas come from?
Well, how through researching neurons and human biology,
Like,
all of
did
that.
you do that?
I did not, but I read books about it.
Okay, so like it would be just like nice to like have that supporting like oh I read this book and like this author said this that and this.
Yes.
Just to support your.
And you know what it is? I think that there's such a value of respect for you from the audience as it is, Miguel. Because I do believe that everyone knows you are probably in your free time. You've read a lot of this stuff. I remember getting an email from you over the summer, last summer. Do you remember that?
I do remember sending
He
emails.
sent me an email.
Did you want to? You guys want to see?
Speaking and about about the course, and he wanted to have an awareness of the course. And you are someone who is very introspective. You really like to, excuse me, you really like to think about thinking. You like to think about really difficult topics and about the human existence. And I think that type of passion for philosophy and science is amazing because we don't have great thinkers like that who want to think about that stuff all the time. And you do. You find it interesting. And I love that. I just think if you are presenting that abstract concept, just bring it in simpler terms and clarify, have examples. I think also circling back to the questions could have been really good. It could have kind of brought us all back to that center space in the beginning. But we all find you interesting, extremely likable. Your delivery is filled with seriousness and tone and almost like a sense of urgency that everyone should learn about human life and behavior and metaphysical things. And so all of that really you have naturally, and you can be a really wonderful speaker, and you are. I just think that we need to organize it and clarify, right? But
Yeah.
thank you so much,
I
Miguel.
think.
It's always interesting. We appreciate